Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say, it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Enough to serve you, small enough to carry. It's Thursday. You know what that means. I mean, we got Brent Beaird, a college football analyst, join us on the Titan MR hotline. And not a whole lot going on. Some news and notes. Lon Kruger, former Gator basketball coach, is inducted into the College Basketball Hall of Fame. But let's go ahead and head to the Titan MR hotline. And let's talk to our man, Brent Beaird. Good morning, Brent. How are you?
Well, good morning. Doing well. Good to be with you, Shane. As always, you're right. There is not a whole lot going on, but 3 weeks from today, there will be, because we'll be in Atlanta covering the SEC Media Days, and Thursday will be the last day. And by the way, the last guy on the podium will be one Jimbo Fisher, so that will be interesting. I'm convinced the league put him last so they keep people around instead of all of them leaving Wednesday night or Thursday morning. So, but regardless, we're looking forward to it. Magazines are coming out. Phil Steele will be out probably by the time that we talk next week.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I figured you've been sitting at Publix every day.
That's right.
You'd be like a greeter waiting to see if the Phil Steele magazines ever showed up. But yeah, it's I was looking at the list of the coaches. Obviously, as you said, it's like starts July 18th or something like that in Atlanta. I was looking here. Brian Harsin goes last too on that Thursday. There hasn't been a whole lot of talk coming out of Auburn, it seems like.
Well, there really hasn't. I mean, they're kind of at a standstill right now in deciding kind of what they want to do at quarterback, and they're still trying to fill their roster. I mean, they've kind of slowly done that, but there really is nothing earth-shaking right now. And frankly, Shane, with what Harsin went through with this attempted coup to get rid of him, probably for the moment, he's happy that there's not much going on. Frankly, I mean, look, they have gotten some transfers to help them. DJ James coming over from Oregon, he's a cornerback. I think he may be able to do that. And obviously Tank Bigsby, as we know, is a difference maker. But you're right. I mean, he'll be asked a lot about expectations of the season and so forth. But it's very, I won't say it's crickets, but it's very quiet at Auburn right now, yes.
Yeah, it really is. Brent, we got a text here on the Titan MR text line before we jump into it. It comes from Bobby. He says, Brent, I've heard your twin brother up in the Alabama area doing radio as well. How can anyone tell y'all apart?
Well, that is funny because Brent does radio in the Huntsville area that comes out of Florence. And frankly, and we ought to do this one day, Shane, although I'd get him up early by doing it, is having us on if we could at the same time, because frankly, we sound identical, and we've done a lot of segments together with other people, and as a matter of fact, we do some radio often together with Bill Shanks in Macon, Georgia. And Bill has said for years that there are people up there who firmly believe that Brent and I are not twins, but we're actually just one person. So if you get a little bit of that from time to time. The funniest thing that's ever happened with that, frankly, was, and I'll make this brief. My family and I went up to Alabama. I was born in Tuscaloosa, raised in Jasper, and Brent came down from Huntsville, so we were at Dad's house, and I actually had my dog with me. And my dog had been with me probably for, I don't know, 10 years or something like that. But he was sitting in front of Brent and I. We were sitting side by side, and I would talk and Brent would talk. And he actually looked at us, and the only way I can describe it is he had a real puzzled look on his face. He kind of cocked his head like he didn't know what was going on. So I've always said that was one of the more amusing things about that. But yes, that if you ever hear Brad, you think you're hearing me.
Yeah, that is funny. The dog was very confused. I'm seeing double here. Real quick, John on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law, says, with Nick and Jimbo basically accusing each other of cheating publicly, is the NCAA going to do anything, or is it just carry on as usual?
You carry on as usual. That will never get beyond the conference line of demarcation right now. Because as we've said before, and I understand this, the athletic directors and the presidents and Greg Sankey have put an end to that. Although Paul, I don't know if you've heard this, Shane, Paul Feinbaum is actually writing a book about it. So, but beyond that, it will be quiet. It won't come up. I mean, they'll be asked, but it really won't come up at media days beyond. We've moved on. That will be the mantra that we will have with that. So no, that will never be investigated, because if you start digging really deep in recruiting, conferences are concerned about what they might find about other schools, and they don't want to air dirty laundry. Does that make sense?
Very much so. Bill Clark, who did wonders for the UAB Blazers with their program, is retiring. It's all due to health issues, though, right, Brent?
Shane, he's having fusion surgery on his back. Now, I can't imagine that. But, I mean, Clark's still young enough to where if he gets the surgery and it's successful and he feels better down the road, I'm curious if he'll coach again. And listen, people may not realize this. Clark, frankly, is one of the better coaches in the entire nation. What he did at UAB was miraculous, frankly, in resurrecting that program. And he was, Shane, you notice, he was always mentioned in a lot of these coaching searches, and we kind of wondered why that he did not take another job beyond UAB, and his back issues were the reason why. But he stayed, to his credit, until they built that stadium. I'm curious if you've seen that yet, but that's a nice stadium downtown, and he was determined that he wanted to see that through.
Yeah, he did wonders for that program. We got a text here from an anonymous texter referring to Feinbaum, talking about writing a book. This guy says, that sounds like a boring book. I'm sure it'll be very, very interesting. All right, Brent, Arch Manning has committed to the Texas Longhorns. Are you surprised?
The thing that surprised me was the timing, probably more than where he went. I mean, we thought he'd go to either Georgia, Alabama, or Texas. But him going ahead and getting it out of the way, I thought was interesting. Now, you know the Mannings well, and what I thought they did the best with this, they did not make this a circus. Shane, They could have done that, couldn't they?
Oh, there's no question.
Could have been on Twitter every day, could have been making outrageous statements and all this, but true to who they are, they did this as a first-class method of dealing with it. You didn't see a whole lot about it. Arch really didn't tweet much about it, but they made their decision because he felt like that's where he wanted to go, that Steve Sarkisian could develop him and get him into the NFL. Of course, the others could too. And look, it's not that Alabama and Georgia don't have quarterbacks, because they do, but this is a huge move for Texas. What's also interesting about this, since he made his commitment, Texas has added 9 commitments. Now, Shane, you understand this. as Chris Hummer said in his article, quarterbacks are kind of the Pied Piper in recruiting, that if you go to a school, it attracts other guys, and that's what's happened with Arch Manning. And again, we don't know when he's going to start with Texas. He's got one more year left in high school, and then he'll be probably competing with Quint Ewers. We don't even know that right now. We think he will. And when will they join the SEC? Well, we don't know that either. So hopefully we'll be able to see Arch at least a year or two in the SEC. But, Shane, I frankly thought that how they treated this, they dealt with that as one of the best ways I've ever seen a family do it.
Yeah, and we've heard nothing about NIL with him. Not one word. And we know he's probably getting something from Texas, but they're not going to publicize it. John has a question or a comment here on Facebook Live I brought you about Mel Law. Why isn't Arch at the Elite 11 with all the other top QBs? I'll tell you why. He didn't want to go. There's no reason to go because that entire thing, and I know some good players that come out of there, but there's been a lot of players out of those 11 quarterbacks that never play it down in college football. It means absolutely nothing because it ain't football.
That's right. Well, and the Elite 11, by the way, is going on today, and today is the end of the Elite 11. Look, because there's really nothing going on, they make this a big deal. They're in Southern California to compete for this. It's in its 24th year. With that, Malachi Nelson of Southern Cal, Dante Moore, who's an uncommitted quarterback. Clemson's got a guy there, Christopher Benzini. Now, the name of the week, Jaden Rashada is there, the Miami commit. Oklahoma has Jackson Arnold, and Alabama has a pledge in Eli Holstein. They measure these guys. They do a lot of 7-on-7 stuff. But I mean, Shane's right. It's a, a lot of people think it's a prestigious event, and probably to some degree it is. But they're just kind of measured against guys who are their own peers, and and it's fun to read about it and to see how they do and to see how they measure up. But the truth of the matter is, as Shane said, this contributes virtually nothing as far as what these guys are going to be doing in the fall.
Yeah, it's just a publicity and a competition deal that Nike. I think Nike still sponsors the Elite 11. Back in the day, that it was a big deal, but it really means absolutely nothing. Brent, there's been some big time transfers head to big time programs. Talk about some of the ones that you have on here on your list that are going to have the biggest impact.
Yeah, they really are interesting to see where this is going to go, and I give Matt Hayes credit for putting this together. Alabama's got two of them, in Eli Ricks from LSU and Jahmyr Gibbs from Georgia Tech. Shane, this Gibbs kid could really be incredible, from what I understand, because he can do everything. Also, one of the guys listed, number 5, is Osiris Torrance at Florida, coming from Louisiana. Now, look, I don't know what you've heard about this kid, but I've heard he could be on some all-SEC list at the end of the year, that he might be that good eventually. Spencer Rattler's on here, too, with South Carolina. Max Johnson, who a lot of people think will get the A&M job. Jaden Hazelwood is at Arkansas, comes over from Oklahoma. Drew Sanders at Arkansas, he comes over from Alabama. And Tavarian Robinson, wide receiver at Kentucky, comes from Virginia Tech. I won't go into all the list, but guys like Zach Evans at Ole Miss, coming from TCU. It is amazing, isn't it, Shane, how you sprinkle in even a handful of these transfers, and they could really transform a football team.
Yeah. I mean, there's some good ones on that list. It's a long list, but there's some good football players that have moved to other places. Are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Doreen Weeby, a realtor with Caldwell Banker M. Parish, will provide you with fast, friendly, and reliable service. Give her a call today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. Speaking with Brent Beaird on the Titan MR hotline. Brent, we got a couple of Facebook Lives here, and this is a good one here. John says, do you see any of these top recruits that got NFL deals / pay for play decommitting after their school has a rough start like Louisville or Texas?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
There is no doubt that that's a possibility. And look, I've always said, well, with this NIL deal, and by the way, July 1st is the 1-year anniversary of NIL. That tells you how little, how brief a time it actually is, but what a great impact that it has. But Shane, what I've often wondered is, what do some of these businesses do if after a year, I don't know, a year and a half, that the guy just not doing anything at all, and he's still sitting on the bench and hasn't produced anything? I mean, there are so many things about this that we don't know. And look, the NIL deal or not, that is an astute question, because you and I both know that some of these guys are going to get frustrated because of one thing or another. And could they leave and try to go somewhere again? Sure, they could. I think we'll see that.
The crazy thing about the whole NIL thing is, and we won't go into depth with it, but you're right. You know, whether it's a booster group, a restaurant, whatever, if your guy's not playing, it's all about return on investment. These dudes that have all this money, they were smart somewhere along the line. They ain't going to do something really dumb just to throw their money away. And here's the other thing. As that crazy ass NIL attorney out in California that basically talks nonsense nonstop, we don't really know if any of the dollar amounts are true. Because I know for a fact the Florida nonsense was false. And I still, to this day, this guy represents the kid that's supposed to go to Tennessee next year, the quarterback out of California, for $8 million. I don't buy it one bit. I don't buy it. People are going to have to prove it to me, because anybody that is giving that kind of money, and I don't care how much money you have, they're completely stupid. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Shane's talking about Michael Caspino, who is in California. And look, I like what some of these guys have come out and said this week. Mike Farrell, who used to be with the Rivals, who does recruiting for a living, said basically here's his quote: "I'm all for these recruits making as much money as they can, and it's great that they are. But I've talked to way too many people in the know to believe these massive numbers. Yeah. They disparage coaches' recruiting efforts. I'm happy to eat my words if I see documentation." And see, that's what people don't know. And I agree with Shane on this. These numbers are greatly inflated. We don't know what they are. And calling anybody's collective right now dysfunctional is, I think, going way too far. Like we said, NIL deals now have just been going on for a year, and some of these collectives have been going on for less than that. Shane, we don't know this stuff, do we? These reports are, and see, this is the unintended consequences of NIL. Is we've got lawyers and these quasi agents who want to be the next Jimmy Sexton, who are getting all kinds of publicity because we have nothing else to cover right now in college football, and we need to take a real step back with this and just beware that everything out there is not true by any stretch.
No, and those attorneys are getting a cut, and they're going to
Sure.
They're just it drives me crazy. Marshall says on Facebook Live, referring to the transfers helping teams out, he says, is also the program can take a transfer and highlight how average they could be. Watch Rattler at USC. I guess he doesn't think Spencer Rattler is going to be very good for South Carolina. We shall see, but I will tell you this. He's the best quarterback that they've had since Connor Shaw back in the day. They've had such bad quarterback play. It can only go up.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now the question Shane and I have had about Rattler, frankly, he's got all the physical tools. I mean, he's a really good-looking specimen. He can do all the good things with the football that quarterbacks can do. But his thing has always been, how mature is he going to be? And hopefully that will improve when after he's gotten to South Carolina.
Yeah. Andy asked, Brent has a question for you here, brought to you by Melton Law. He's up in Chicago. He says, Brent, how long have you been a Heisman voter, and how does one get that honor?
Well, I've been a Heisman voter now for probably 15, 20 years. I actually was asked. Mike Bianchi is the Heisman. They kind of do it by regions, and he is the regional guy for I guess the Southeast. And years ago, he said we're looking for guys who really know college football that we can have on our with us as voters. Would you be interested? And I said, of course I would. So that's where that comes from. I mean, I take it very seriously. I've enjoyed it, and I would love to go and be a part of the actual ceremony one day. So hopefully that will happen. Maybe I can talk Shane into going up there with me. But it's been a lot of fun, and I'm honored to be able to do it.
No doubt, it is a great honor. I got a text here on the Titan MR text line from Frank, and I'm glad Frank texted this because I've had multiple friends of mine call and text me about this. His typing on his text wasn't great, so I'm going to translate it. He says, do you think Billy Napier and the UF administration are working together or against one another with NIL, or do you think they're on the same page? Again, this is what I try to tell people. The UAA Gator Boosters are the two organizations, or whatever you want to call them, that handle Gator athletics. Gator Boosters is for scholarship donations, for facility upgrades. Wherever you want to give money, you give it to the Gator Boosters. The UAA handles all the other stuff. Okay. Neither one of those organizations have anything to do with NIL. And it's the same way at any other school. NIL money for an athlete comes from an outside source.
Right.
It goes through like the desk. They just have to fill out this paperwork because the UAA and Billy A. Napier and them, they can't deny anything. So if Brent Beaird owns company X, and wants to do a deal with player X at whatever school, that school has no say on it. That's correct, right, Brent? I'm about 100% sure Billy Napier and them they're not writing checks and deciding who give money to or any of that stuff.
Right. Yeah. No, I think you've summed it up. I think you summed it up well. And look, again, what we're saying today with the 1-year anniversary coming up on July the 1st, there's still a lot of that's still we really don't know that much about because it's just kind of forming. Shane, if I may, real quick, I want to make a point about a lot of this talk that's been going on about, boy, Miami just really has their act together, and there's so much that they're recruiting so much better than Florida is. Okay, what I did last night was I got Rivals.com, 247.com, and On3, which is the new kid on the block. Okay, and I'll be quick about this, but in On3. Now, they do theirs a little bit differently, but on 3 in the recruiting rankings. Ohio State's first, and I won't go through all the rest of them. But Miami is 15, and 17 is Florida State. 18 is Florida. In Rivals.com, Miami is 32. Florida's 33. FSU's 38. And 24/7, Miami's 31. Florida's 34. And Florida State is 40. Okay, this is using the science, if I may use that term. What I mean by that is all three of these organizations that do recruiting for a living have their own formula that they use, and we won't get into that. But, Shane, my point here is, for all the people who are saying that Miami is doing such a great job and they're leaving Florida in the dust, you would think that there would be about a 10 or 20 spaces between them. But look, according to the experts, Miami and Florida's recruiting is about the same. So I just wanted to bring that to the table for anybody who's ready to jump off a cliff today unnecessarily, to show you how close in the eyes of the experts that overall Florida and Miami's recruiting actually is.
And here's the other thing I was telling, because those people that have been texting and calling me bitching and complaining. I'm like, you can only sign 25 athletes.
That's right.
You can't get everybody. And it'll all work itself out. Brent, it's summertime, so we got our list here. You got a dangerous 3-game stretch in the SEC. You want to run down some of those?
Yeah. And again, I give Matt Hayes credit for this. We'll hit some of the highlights here. There are 3-game stretches that are going to be very important for teams. Georgia has in November, Florida, October, November, Florida, Tennessee, Mississippi State. That's 3 in a row for them. Alabama's most difficult stretch is in October at Arkansas, A&M at home, and then at Tennessee. A&M, their most difficult stretch is the end of September through early October. Arkansas at Mississippi State and Alabama. That's pretty tough. Now, Kentucky in October has South Carolina, Mississippi State, and at Tennessee. And the reason that's tough is if Kentucky playing Georgia in November, if that game needs to mean something, they're going to have to play well in October. Now, what Matt's got here for Florida, and I would agree, is their toughest stretch is obviously Utah, Kentucky, and South Florida. So that's what they're looking at that point. So we won't go into every one of them, but I think it's a really good and very interesting way of looking at it, that a lot of these teams, Shane, how they do in these stretches of games will determine their season.
Yeah, that's true. Our text line is just blowing up today, Brent. This is from another anonymous texter, but it's back to, people complaining about Napier. Is there friction between Napier and then the UAA about NIL? He says there has to be some communication between Napier and the collective to let the collective know what the team priorities are, though, right? Okay. So again, like I said, I could be wrong, but this is the way I understand it. The collective, Gator Collective, is more for guys doing appearances and things of that nature right now. They're not stroking big checks. That comes from the Gator Guard. But you're right. Coach Napier and them are going to say, hey, we like that quarterback down there at Tampa Jesuit. We really want him. Then they go do what they got to do. But he will let them know who they're targeting, yes. I mean, obviously, because last thing you want to do is, and I have heard this from multiple college coaches say, we got boosters paying players we don't even want on our team. And so the whole dynamics is crazy to me. So John says on Facebook Live, go listen to 24/7 interview Rashada. He can't even say why he picked Miami. Then he is going to say it wasn't NIL. Look, it's all fabricated, John, as you probably understand from that agent, whatever that guy's name out in California. All right, Brent, another one of our lists here, the most offensive production that is returning on the 14 SEC schools.
This is something that's also important because, and Connolly does this out of ESPN. In the SEC, Mississippi State has 80% of its production that's coming back. Picture a 7-on-7 team here, and you're talking about wide receivers, quarterbacks, and running backs. Tennessee is next with 77%. South Carolina, 71%. Alabama has 67% of their production coming back. LSU 63%. Ole Miss 62%. Georgia only has 61% of theirs coming back. 60% for A&M, and Florida has only 59%. They're the last team in the league with production coming back. Now, look, that doesn't mean that these teams don't have good players behind the ones who left, because they do. But again, these are lists this time of year that we enjoy reading because there's nothing else going on. So don't panic if your school is not high on production because you still got good players, and everybody does.
Yeah, that's true. Brent, you got a few more minutes so we can run through the SEC team reports?
Yeah.
All right. What's going on up at Tuscaloosa?
They're recruiting very well.
Shocker.
I won't go into everybody they've got, but I do want to mention one guy. They've got a linebacker, Justin Jefferson, who's a junior college guy at Pearl River. This is a linebacker now. Now, obviously, he'll get bigger than this. He's 6'1", 215. But the thing that attracted him to a lot of schools is the fact that he's so quick as a linebacker. He runs a 4.3 in the 40 as a linebacker. Now, I've seen a little bit of film on him. He really gets to the quarterback, so that's interesting. Bama got a commitment last night from Cole Adams, who's a wide receiver out of Oklahoma. You don't get a lot of kids out of Oklahoma, but because Alabama recruits nationwide, they do. So that they are doing well in recruiting in this point, as you would know that they would. And Alabama's like everybody else. They're trying to get all their NIL stuff and their collectives together too.
You know, speaking of Alabama recruiting, obviously we know how they do it, but they've done an unbelievable job. I don't know if people have seen it, but they have this wall that has all their first-round draft picks, NFL jerseys. I think it's only since Nick Saban. I think he's had like 46 first-rounders since he's been there.
Correct.
But it is very, very creative, and I just think it was awesome. And obviously it attracts kids to see that, because I know what he used to do, because my son got a couple letters from them. I don't know why, but they would send, when you get your mail, you open it up and it's like a big check, and it says like Luke Matthews, and it'd be like $24 million, and that would be like, it's probably more than that, but that's how much their kids that just got drafted signing bonus or something like that. It was just extremely creative how they do things up there. Gators have got a couple of good players, especially a good DB out of the Jacksonville area.
Oh, yeah. Sharif Denson out of Jacksonville, 6 foot, 170, is well thought of. He's the number 24 cornerback and 24/7. And the number 41 overall recruit in the state of Florida. So yes, they are bringing in guys. Now, one thing I want to get to, that I think really brings that needs to be said, and DeMarcus Bowman is an example of this. Okay, DeMarcus Bowman transferred from Clemson, and he got his. We all know that everybody gets one free transfer, but if you transfer again, that's up in the air. Okay, so here's the deal: he's going to Central Florida. Now, what we've got to wait and see is, will he get a waiver to play, or will he have to sit out a year? So, Shane, see, this is stuff that I don't know if these players really think about that much. So my point is, and look, we're not picking on Bowman here, but we're using this as an example. You've got to be aware that if you go to school X and it doesn't work out right away, and you're in the pecking order for whatever position you play, you've got a decision. You can either stay and tough it out, and maybe you get your chance if you work hard and do all the right things, or if you get discouraged and you see it's just not going to work, well, I'm going somewhere else. Well, there's something wrong with that. You have the freedom to do that. But Shane, this is the risk, and we don't talk enough about this. The risk is you may end up in a situation where you don't play for 2 years or more, right? Because for whatever reason, you're not playing with your current school. If you transfer to another school and you don't get a waiver, that means you don't play another year. So, Shane, are these guys really, and again, we're not getting on Bowman here, but my question is, I really do wonder, are these guys who want to transfer all the time, are they thinking that through?
Probably not. But, I think Bowman realized, okay, we know he's supposed to have some talent, some speed. We've seen flashes of it. But he fumbled the football like 3 times in the spring game. There are better running backs ahead of him. And then once he's declared that he was going to go, transfer, the Gator fans are just going crazy. I don't understand it. I mean, the guy was never going to play. So let him go. But yes, he's going to have to sit out a year, but unless he's got a family member that's sick, they sometimes figure that out. Got a text on the Titan our text line. Brent, listen to this one. I don't know if you got any answers to this. It's Alan in Atlanta. He says, any chance you can get Darren Heitner, which he teaches sports law at UF, on to talk to NIL? What are the rules, state of law, and other state laws? Gator Nation needs a level set on what's really going on. Yeah, there's different state laws. I will try to reach out to him. The biggest thing, here's what I can say about NIL. You cannot believe everything you read on Twitter, because there is no way that those people are getting paid what these lawyers, agents, whatever you want to call them, are saying they're getting. There is no way. So we'll leave it at that, but I'll reach out to him and see if we can get him on. Brent, anything happening up in Georgia? Are they ready to bench Stetson Bennett yet?
Well, they're a lot of their fans probably are, amazingly. But I mean, they've still got a good quarterback room. Carson Beck, Brock Vandergriff, among others, who still have multiple years remaining. And I think another interesting thing is, and when we talked about this on First Coast News the other night, how quick can Georgia rebuild its defense? Now, they've got a lot of really good 4 and 5 story guys who are on that defense, but last year's defense is amazing. Had 99 tackles for loss. Think about that a minute, Shane.
Yeah,
99. And they lost 66 of those tackles to either the NFL or the transfer portal. Or that's 65% of it. And 46, or almost half of its tackles for loss, were against ranked teams. I still think they will replace that, and they will be okay because this Georgia defense has tremendous talent.
Yeah, I'm going to not pick on you here, but you said that they have a good quarterback room. What's interesting to me, and I know Georgia fans have complained about this for years, every year that Stetson Bennett's been their quarterback. Do we really know how good Carson Beck or Vandergraaf are? I mean, they're five-star, All-American, All-World, and they can't beat out the walk-on who's barely 5'10". So,
my point is, I think that's a valid point. It is.
Yeah, they're talented, but that doesn't translate to being able to play the position. So we'll see. But I think Georgia's going to be very good this year, regardless. Let's talk quick about Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Ole Miss, a lot of people think they can be a big-time sleeper. They got several transfers coming in. What's going on up in Oxford?
Well, they're happy right now because baseball, obviously, but they've had a good year. I mean, the football team was in the Sugar Bowl. Baseball team, they won it all. The women's basketball team was in the NCAA tournament. So one of their better years that they've ever had. And by the way, Mike Leach of Mississippi State got a contract extension of 2 years, $5.5 million, and which will run through 2025. So he's doing pretty well. He did lose his right-hand man. That Dave Emmerich went to Southern Cal as their general manager. You're beginning to see more of these general manager. Have you noticed that, Shane? These general manager titles for guys in college football now, not just the NFL. So we'll be interested to see how that works out over time.
Yeah. Brent, let's jump to the ACC because they came out with their new scheduling format, which I think a lot of people in the SEC are hoping that the league goes to that. Did anything jump out to you at the three primary permanent opponents for any of these schools?
This is a 3-5-5 schedule that they've gone through now. They got rid of divisions. So that's the thing that
thank goodness, because I couldn't tell you who was where.
Hey, that helped everybody, didn't it, Shane? By doing so, now everybody's got what they call three primary partners. Florida State, for instance, Clemson, Miami, and Syracuse. I'm not sure I want to play Clemson every year, but on alternate years, you get a big crowd regardless. Miami has Boston College, Florida State, and Louisville, which is interesting. But look, some of these teams in this league have still got to step up. Miami does, Florida State does. We think NC State's is going to be much better this year. It may be a contender, but I mean, a lot of people who cover the league, and we do too, still would like to see this league really improve. I thought it was very good several years ago, but it's going backwards as of late, and hopefully we'll catch some steam again and start to improve.
Yeah. Any nuggets before we let you go?
Now, Florida State also got a local kid here in Clay County, Roderick Kearney, who's a big offensive lineman, to commit to them a few days ago. Also wanted to mention that at Kentucky, former Tennessee running back Dee Beckwith, who is from, again, where my brother is, Florence, Alabama, has gone from Tennessee to Kentucky. Now, one thing I did also want to mention about NIL, and we may see a little bit of this, is I thought this was interesting. The Fighting Gator Touchdown Club had Lorenzo Lingard in as a speaker. So I really wonder, and it's a very intriguing idea, if we'll see more of this in some of these clubs having current, not past, but current players coming in to speak to them. So that might be very fascinating to kind of see where that goes. And I'll end with this. Big 12 new commissioner, Brent Beaird. He comes from, get this, Shane, Jay-Z's agency, Rock Nation. Now, this is not your typical commissioner for a conference. So they're going to bid out of the box. And I think they're doing this for marketing and also to get a guy with a new TV deal. So, Shane, I'm sure you've noticed, and we've had this as of late, these conferences are looking at guys who are really different than what we had with, say, Mike Slive of the SEC and Jim Delaney of the Big Ten, because we've got a lot of big decisions coming up in college football, and they're trying to get guys who really understand the marketing end of it and the TV deal end of it. I think that's pretty fascinating, frankly.
Yep, I agree. Brent, great stuff as always. Sorry to keep you so long, but we had a ton of texts that I didn't get to all of them. People
Sure.
always love having you on and asking you questions. So have a great weekend. Happy 4th of July, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, bud. Always enjoy it. Take care.
That's Brent Beaird, our college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter. Join us on the Titan More Hotline. Going to take a quick time out, come back, get to more of these Facebook Lives and these text messages you're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit podupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Point, that's where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shops, Dave & Buster's, Regal Cinemas, Nike, Palmetto Moon, Medici's, and the HBC's Restaurant Spurters Gridiron Grill, where every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 2:30, you can get the hottest brunch in town. We'll see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. Really want to thank Brent Beaird for taking the time to join our program. He's got so much information. We can't even get to all of it. But I hope you guys enjoy having him on as well. Let's get to This Day in Sports, which is brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Beat the summer heat and schedule your air conditioner's tune-up today, keeping you chill in the Florida heat far away. Comfort Temp Heating and Air. Give them a call, 352-376-2366. This Day in Sports, brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. And where did the one that I wanted to go? Let me find it, folks. Bear with me. It somehow moved on me. And it was, bear with me. Here it is. In 1993, the NBA draft, Chris Webber was the first pick by the Orlando Magic and then traded to the Golden State Warriors. Also in 1992, this is interesting. I'm assuming this is the I don't know if the U.S. Open. I don't know if this is tennis or golf. They're the first pay bathrooms where you pay 25 cents to go to the bathroom at the U.S. Open. That's quite interesting. So that's This Day in Sports, brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. JB Ask on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law. Is Brent from or living in Mississippi. Is that a Mississippi? No, he is a diehard. His twin brother lives in Alabama. Brent grew up in Alabama. He's an Alabama grad and lives in Jacksonville area. Does some TV up there with one of the TV stations and does a ton of radio around the Southeast. Marshall says it's his first week listening to the show. We appreciate you joining on, Marshall. Tell your friends to join us. We got some good things cooking starting next week. Don't forget, folks, starting next Wednesday until August 17th, we'll not do a live show, but you still can tune in because it'll be the best of. And for people that have missed a lot of former players, things of that nature, make sure you tune in and watch. Let's see. Andy says on Facebook Live, think of how much better Lon Kruger's record would have been if he had talked you into playing basketball. Yeah, he taught me into it. I would have been a deadly three-point shooter. I would have been a hazard on defense, though, Andy. I would have to knock down a three, and he'd have to call timeout, take me out of the game. David says, this is Joseph and David, that at least has something to do with the name, image, and likeness. That's the reason people are watching. Not sure what that's about. All right, let's take our final timeout, come back, wrap up the Thursday edition. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Again, I want to thank Brent Beaird for joining us on the Titan MR hotline. Before we get out of here, I got a text on the Titan MR text line. It comes from Lawrence. Lawrence says, Shane, why does the NIL get you so upset? It doesn't get me upset. I just think it's silly because it's not what it was intended to be. If you've watched or listened to my show, Lawrence, name, image, and likeness was supposed to be about kids profiting from their jersey sales, autograph signings, doing car commercials, things of that nature. Not just flat out saying, here's $4 million. Come be a Florida Gator or a Miami Hurricane or whoever it may be. That's not what it was intended to be. So it'll all work itself out in the next year or two when some of these guys fall flat on their face and the investors lose all their money and they're bitching and complaining to the head coach while their guy's not playing. So we'll see. But time will tell. But yeah, I have no problem with kids benefiting from their jersey sales. They should have been, I complained about Florida about this because they used to only sell in the bookstores the year. There'd be like the 96 team. And then the next year they'd sell a 97 jersey. Who the hell wants to wear number 96 and 97 jersey? Nobody. And then I think one year they sold some of Rex's jerseys. They may have sold some of Tebow's. But, I grew up an Ole Miss fan. I used to go to the bookstore and you could get a jersey with any number you wanted on it back in the day. This was in the 80s. And I never understood why Florida never sold the jerseys of each individual player. So I think you can do that now. You can go online and buy them or what have you. Actually, I have a company that does those type of things. So if you're interested, just let me know. Shoot us an email. But I hope you enjoyed today's program. Brent had a lot of good information for us, and we'll be back here same place, same time tomorrow with JC and maybe another guest. But next week we're going to kick off some special stuff next week. So we appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow, folks. Take care.
1st and 10. Matthews, near side, wide open, Alonzo Sullivan. He may go. Touchdown, Gators.